Good morning, class. So we'll be starting off with a new exercise, and that is section B, exercise 2.2 of question number 1, the first two questions. But before we proceed, I would like to add in a new topic, which is called the relationship between, it's called the relationship between zeros and coefficient of a polynomial. Coefficient of a polynomial. Clear? So over this, when you really look into this, when we talk about zeros, we are talking about those solutions or those values of x. Suppose we are given, let me just take an example. I'll just follow the same example that is given in your textbook. That is 2x squared minus 8x plus 6. So when we are given a quadratic equation, what we mean by zeros is that when you substitute the value of x, with a value, you should be getting this equation equal to 0. So those values of x, because we really do not know the value of x, but when we find out the values of x and when we substitute in this equation, you should get it equal to 0. So such values are usually called zeros, of a polynomial. I think most of you are already familiar with splitting the middle terms, which was something which was done in class 9. So in order to understand this, what we actually need is we need the sum of the zeros. So when we take the sum of the zeros, it is usually denoted by alpha plus beta. And it is also denoted by coefficient of x, divided by coefficient of x squared. If you have not understood coefficient properly, I would suggest you to watch the previous video, the introductory video. Either ways, for this example, the coefficient of x is going to be, remember, it's going to be not just simply 8, it's going to be minus 8. Keep that in mind. There's a negative here. Clear? This is a quadratic equation. You must remember the quadratic equation is usually denoted by ax squared plus bx plus c. Clear? So the value of here, remember there is a plus here. So the value of a here is going to be 2. I think you have already done it. The value of b is going to be minus b. B is going to be minus 8. So what we understand by the sum of 0 is nothing but minus b by a. Clear? Now next, when we go to the product of the zeros. So when you talk product of the zeros, it is alpha into beta and it's denoted by constant term, a constant term by coefficient of x squared. Coefficient of x squared. So when we take a constant term, the constant term in this given quadratic equation is going to be 6, right? So 6, and the coefficient of x squared is actually 2. Clear? Coefficient of x squared for this equation is 2. So it's denoted by c by a. So this is the formula. So I hope you're aware of this. I hope you're clear of this. You'll have to remember this. All right. And if you're still not very clear with quadratic equation, I would request you to study this. Now, what is alpha and beta? When we talk about alpha and beta, we simply mean the zeros of the quadratic polynomial. Clear? And how do we find the zeros? Right? I have told you about what zeros mean, but what is or how do we find 0? So we find out the 0 by using a technique called splitting the middle terms, which you have done it. Splitting the middle terms. Splitting the middle terms. Or you have the liberty to even use quadratic formula, but according to your textbook, you are asked to use splitting the middle terms. But if you can use quadratic formula, you can also use quadratic formula. Quadratic formula. For competitive examinations of sort, you can just quickly go to and quickly use quadratic formula. So that it will save time. In fact, splitting the middle terms, if you know it quite well, it does not really take much time. But if not, you can just use this quadratic formula and find out the zeros. But in order to split the middle terms, how do we split the middle terms is the next question, right? We have to split this middle term. Is what? Splitting the middle terms is just that, splitting the middle term. So we have to split the middle terms, but we need to split the middle terms in such a way that the sum of two numbers should give you 8. We have to split this term. With the sum of these two numbers should give you 8. Clear? So when you sum it up, you should get it equal to 8. You should always add it. Do not pay attention to the signs here. It does not really matter. Clear? All right. So you have to add them up in such a way that you get 8. Okay. Now, but what is the product of the constant term with the coefficient of x squared? 2 into 6 is equal to 12. Okay. Clear? You take the product of 2, which is the coefficient of x squared, and you multiply it with the constant 6. So when you multiply it, you'll be getting a positive value. So now see, these are both going to be positive. Okay, so you should also pay attention to it. Depending on the sign, this will change. So this is positive 6, positive 2, so it's going to be 12. So you should be able to find such a number that the same number, when you add, you should get 8, and when you and when you multiply, you should get it as 12. So I think the number that you're thinking of must be 6 plus 2. When you add 6 and 2, you get 8. But when you multiply 6 and 2, you also get 12. Clear? So the zeros of these are going to be 6 and 2. Okay, therefore, how do we split the middle terms? Put the negative terms as it is. 8 can now be written as 6 plus 2 of x plus 6. Okay, so you open up the bracket, minus 6 into x minus 6x minus plus, so minus 2x plus 6. Okay, and then I think you can find out what's the common between this. It's going to be 2x, so x. So if you take out 2x from here, you'll be left with 3, right? Now if you take what's the common between this, it's going to be 2. So you take out x. This is, now pay attention to this sign, it's quite important. Okay, this is a plus sign, but what have we taken common? Minus. So you be careful when you write this should be minus. Okay, clear? This should be minus, because minus 2 into minus 3 will give you plus 6. Clear? So this are going to be this. So therefore, what is common between these two terms? You just take again after this. The two term common between these two terms is x minus 3 is common. So if you take x minus 3, what you're left with? 2x minus 2. Okay, 2x minus 2. Clear? So this is how you can just go about solving this. All right. So this is splitting the middle terms. Maybe I'll try to explain, but it's a concept of class 9. So if you're not very familiar with this, I would advise you to go and find it out. So the first question that we have for this is x squared minus 2x minus 8. So we first have to find out the zeros, okay? So to find out the zeros, we have to use splitting the middle terms, right? Clear? We have to split this term, okay? So that means you just put in a side way. When you add two numbers, you should get 2, okay? Now what is this? Multiply the coefficient, the constant with the coefficient of x squared. So you're going to multiply here 1, and this is going to be minus 8. Clear? All right? Okay, so this is going to be minus 8. So when you multiply this, you should get it as minus 8. Okay? Clear? Okay. So just pay attention to this, okay? For the middle term, whatever sign is before it does not really matter, okay? You should not focus so much on the sign that is in the sign that is before the middle term. But what you should focus more on, you should focus on the sign of the constant term and the coefficient of the x squared. So minus 8 into 1 is going to be minus 8. So you should get two such numbers, the same. When you add it, you should get 2. When you multiply it, you should get minus 8. Now this you'll increase your speed only if you keep on practicing. Okay, right now I'm able to easily do it because I've done it a couple of times. Okay, so if you keep on practicing, these values will easily come out. Okay, so 4 plus minus 2 will give you 2, but 4 into minus 2 will also give you minus 8. Therefore, the two zeros are, these are the two terms. Clear? So the way to go about is we split this middle term by adding, right? So when you add 4 plus minus 2, and do not forget your x here, minus 8, you end up getting 2x, right? So you can just open up the bracket, okay? 4 plus minus is going to be minus 2, x minus 8. Now, do not subtract this. 4 minus 2 is 2. Okay? You end up getting the same equation. You end up getting x squared minus 2x minus 8. Our objective is to find out the zeros. Okay? So therefore, you open up the bracket. So minus 4 into x will give you minus 4x. Minus into minus becomes plus. 2 into x becomes 2x minus 8. Now you see, take these two terms. What is common between x squared and minus 4x? X is common. So if you take x out, you will be left with x. And if you take x out from here, you're left with minus 4. Now what is common between 2x and minus 8? 2 is common between them. So you take out x, will be left here. Now for this is minus, right? So plus into minus gives you minus. Okay, so now you just see, focus on this. When you open up the bracket, when you open up this bracket, you should get this equation. Okay, when you open this bracket, you should get this equation. Check that. Okay, so x into x gives you x squared. There's a minus, so put a minus there. X into 4x, 4 gives you 4x, plus 2 into x gives you 2x, plus into minus will give you minus. First focus on the sign. Plus into minus will give you minus. 2 into 4 will give you 8. Okay, now you look at these two terms. What is common? X minus 4 is common, so you take x minus 4 out. So if you take x minus 4 out from here, you're left with x plus 2. Therefore the zeros are going to be x plus minus 4 equal to 0, or x plus 2 equal to 0. So x will be equal to 4 and x will be equal to minus 2. For the purpose of this example, or for this problem, we will take, you can take any one, okay, but I'll take alpha to be my 4 and beta to be minus 2. Okay, you can take your beta as 4, you can take your alpha as minus 2, absolutely no problem. But just for now, I'll be taking my alpha as 4 and my beta as minus 2. So these are the zeros we have found out. Okay, but we're asked to verify between the zeros and the coefficients. Okay, so we have to, how do we find out? We have to take the sum of the zeros. So the sum of the zeros is actually a formula called alpha plus beta. But apart from that, okay, never mind. So what is alpha? It is 4, and what is beta? Minus 2. So 4 plus minus 2 is 4 minus 2, which is equal to 2, right? But sum of the zeros according to the formula is, what do we get? We got, the formula is minus coefficient of x divided by coefficient of x squared. This is what we got, right? Now let's go back, okay, to the original equation, which is given as x squared minus 2x plus 8. I think this is given up minus 8. Okay, yeah, this is the equation that is given to us. Clear? So you have to verify this. Just try to verify this in a rough word. What is the coefficient of x? The coefficient of x is minus 2. Clear? The coefficient of x is minus 2. All right, clear? Okay, and the coefficient of x squared is minus 8. Okay, so maybe somewhere we have done a mistake. So you can just cancel it out and you're left with 1 by minus 1 by 4. Okay. Okay, I think we have done a mistake somewhere. Okay, coefficient of x, sorry, okay, it's not 8. Okay, that's a mistake I've made, so that's why we're not able to get the answer. Remember, okay, alpha plus beta, when you substitute alpha is equal to 4 and beta is minus 2, you must get it equal to 2. Okay, you're going to get it equal to 2, and this 2 must be equal to this formula, minus coefficient of x divided by coefficient of x squared. Okay, so we'll just try to verify it in a rough word. What is the coefficient of x? It is given as, coefficient of x is minus 2. Okay, now coefficient of x squared is 1, so minus into minus, 2 by 1. Okay, or if you're very confused, you write this in the form of quadratic formula, plus bx plus c. Clear? And so what is the value of a? Is 1. What is the value of b? Remember, b is going to be minus 2 and c is going to be equal to minus 8. Okay, you can also do this way, x squared. So this is the quadratic equation you have, right? Ax plus bx plus c. So you can rewrite this in this given format. So you put a plus, okay? But over here we have a minus, so we cannot leave that. So you put a minus under bracket. You put a plus, constant is, again, you cannot remove the negative just like that. So this is how you can get. So this is nothing but ax squared plus bx plus c. So if I ask you what is the value of a, so the coefficient of x squared is 1, b is equal to minus 2, and c is equal to minus 8. Okay? So this is equal to 2, so the answer is correct. Next, we have to go with the product of the zeros. Okay. So for product of the zeros, the formula is alpha into beta. It's a minus 2, so this is going to be equal to minus 8. Before you proceed, you have to check this. So the way to go about this is, the formula is what the product of 0 is constant term by coefficient of x squared. Remember this formula, okay? Let's check whether the constant term by coefficient of x squared is equal to minus 8 or not. So what is the constant term over here, which is c? It is minus 8. And what is the coefficient of x squared, which is 1? So minus 8. So that means this is correct. Clear? Quickly we shall go to the next question, which is 4s square minus 4s plus 1. So to find out the zeros, first we have to split the middle term. That means we have to split this, okay? So you have to add two numbers such that you get 4, okay? And then you have to multiply your constant term with the coefficient of s square, okay? With the s square, clear? See, don't get confused. Sometimes it's written as 4x square plus 4x plus 1. Sometimes it's written as 4y square plus 4y plus 1. Do not get confused, okay? These are just notations. These are called variables because we do not know the value, okay? X is also a variable, y in the case of this is also a variable. So for the same case, s is also going to be a variable. We do not know the value, so we can, it's the same thing, okay? Clear? So here I can write this is nothing but ax square plus bx plus 1. This is a quadratic equation. This is also a quadratic equation, no problem, okay? It's just the same thing. See, you look at this, ax square, ay square, no changes, okay? So don't get confused with this. So now when you take the product of the constant term and multiply it with the coefficient of x square, you must get it equal to 4. Now it's a very easy problem, right? So the answer you're thinking is probably of 2, because when you add 2 plus 2 you get 4, and when you multiply 2 into 2 you get 4. So you can write this as 2s square minus, this can be written as 2 plus 2. We're splitting this, so we have finally successfully splitted the middle terms, okay? We splitted them. Now you multiply minus 2 into 2 is minus 2. Do not forget your s over here. Minus plus becomes minus, minus plus minus 2s plus 1. So now what is common between these two terms, 4s square and 2s? 2s is common. So if you take 2s out here, you'll be left with 2s, okay? Because you see, you're supposed to get 4s square, right? In the first term. So you multiply 2 into 2, how much do you get? 4s into s. You end up getting 4s square, okay? So if you have taken out 2s already out from here, what is left? You'll be left with 1. Is there anything common between them? There's nothing common, so you take minus 1, okay? You just focus, whatever sign is here, you write it here, okay? If this is a plus, you write a plus here. If it's a minus, write minus here. So if you take 1 here, what you'll be left with? 2s. Now pay attention to this. This is plus, okay? Clear? So you must multiply minus 1 with such numbers such that you should get, so it should be minus itself, okay? So you look at this. Minus 1 into 2s gives you minus 2s. Minus 1 into minus 1 gives you plus 1. So be very careful with the sign, because if you put here plus and you write this, minus 1 into plus 1 will give you minus 1. Okay, it will give you minus 1, but that is not the correct answer, because whenever you open up this bracket, okay, you open up this bracket means you start multiplying this, you're supposed to get back the same equation, which is 4s square minus 2s plus 1. So it's supposed to be a minus here, okay? So minus into minus becomes plus 1. So what is common between these two terms? 2s minus 1 is common, so take that out. So if you take 2s minus 1 from here, you're left with 2s minus 1. Clear? So the zeros are going to be 2s minus 1 equal to 0, and 2s minus 1 equal to 0. So 2s equal to, you take 1 to the other side, so since there's a minus between them, it will become plus, right? So, okay, there's a minus between them, so this will become plus, s equal to 1 by 2, s equal to 1 by 2. Yeah. Now, we already know what alpha is, 1 by 2. We already know what beta is, 1 by 2. So, all we have to do is, all that's left is to verify. So, you take sum of the zeros, okay? It is alpha plus alpha. So half plus half is 1. Now before that, before we just conclude, we're supposed to confirm it with which formula? We're supposed to confirm with this coefficient of x divided by coefficient of, let's just check if the coefficient of this minus coefficient of x divided by minus coefficient of x square is equal to 1 or not. So this is the original formula given, right? So now what is the coefficient of x? Minus is here, so minus 4, right? Okay. If you're very confused, the formula is b by a for sum of the zeros, okay? It's b by a. And so b is minus 4, and what is a? 4. So minus into minus plus 4 by 4. So yes, it's 1. So that's correct, okay? Now let's go with product of the zeros. So product of the zeros is alpha into beta. So half into half, okay? So half into half is 1 into 1 is 1, 2 into 2 is 4. Now let's just check if it is equal to the constant term by the coefficient of x squared. Let's just check if this is the correct term or not, okay? Clear? So now this is going to be, what is the constant term for this equation? It is 1. Remember, product of the 0 can also be written by c by a. If you're very confused, you just do this, okay? C by a. Okay, so what is c in the case of this? It is 1. And what is a over here? 4. So yes, the answer is correct, okay? Therefore, our zeros are correct, and we have verified our zeros by using sum of the zeros and product of the zeros. Clear? So we'll end the video here.